Hey everyone, it is Monday, October 1st. Yes, it is the 1st of October. This is a little weird because normally I only do reading vlogs for readathons, but I decided that since I am reading the majority of the Throne of Glass series for the first time, I would just vlog the rest of my experience. Now, as of this point, I have read The Assassin's Blade and I reread Throne of Glass earlier this year, a few months back. I did not vlog those because I didn't realize that I really wanted to vlog at that point, so I don't have a vlog for those. But from the second book through the rest of the series, I will attempt to do a reading vlog so I can kind of go through my experience for that. So as of now, I have not started, but like I mentioned, for this one, it will be a Crown of Midnight reading vlog, and this is the second book in the Throne of Glass series. As you guys know, the seventh or the eighth book in the series, which is the final book, is coming out later this month. So I meant to read at least one book a month and I did not get to that, so now I am trying to make up for that. Hopefully it's not too dark. Maybe I should turn this way since the window's this way. My hair is probably kind of crazy right now because I just took my scarf off and I'm waiting on it to fall. So if it is, sorry about that. Anyway, like I mentioned, this will be a reading vlog to kind of just go over my thoughts of Crown of Midnight as I'm reading it. I am actually about to be on my way out. I didn't want to. I was about to film my videos for this week, but I have to take my brothers to a dentist appointment that I had no plans on doing at first. So that's why I'm about to be on my way out the house, and I figured I would just go ahead and take Crown of Midnight with me so I could start that, because I think they're going to get something done with braces, so it's probably going to take a little while because I have two of them with me. So I figured I can go in and get started at least on my day one reading. I have broken this up. I broke up my reading over 7 days. So for the first day, which obviously is today, I think I have myself set up to read 62 pages, so the first 7 chapters. I don't think honestly that I will finish that first day reading all today, because once I get back I have to at least film my video that's going up tomorrow, because I post Tuesday and Friday, which I mentioned. But I at least need to get that video filmed, and then tomorrow when I get in from work I can film my Friday video. And yeah, I won't have a lot of time to sleep, and I need to get at least a few more hours of sleep before going to work. So yeah, I guess I will come back maybe when I get home from work to do a little update, just so you guys can get my thoughts on the first little bit or whatever I get read. But yeah, I will see you guys when I have something to actually talk about. Okay, so I am now back from where I said I was going in the previous clip. So while I was waiting on them, I did get started reading. I honestly did not read that much because like the reception area wasn't separated or anything, and it was a pretty small space, so I was hearing the receptionist do her daily job, and I get distracted easily when there's a lot going on around me, especially when other people are talking. So I read, but I did not read that much, and I'm thinking that I actually might just restart it, because I think I read like 3 pages, maybe like 3.5 pages total. So I didn't read that much. So I think I am just going to, when I get to work or when I have some time later tonight, I'm just going to restart it. So I think I got all the information, but I just want to make sure that I don't miss out on anything, just because I was like kind of half paying attention while I was reading. Right now I am actually about to get ready to film my October TBR, since that is going up tomorrow, or it needs to go up tomorrow. So I need to film that, so when I go into work tonight I can edit it and have it uploaded, you know, by the time I leave work. So that's going to be a pain in the butt. I think it's like 12 o'clock now. Usually I'm like getting in the shower and getting ready for bed, so I gotta do this as quick as possible. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I did stop at Barnes and Noble because when my brothers went to the dentist, they have an office inside the mall, and the mall has a Barnes and Noble. Usually I don't shop at Barnes and Noble too often. I keep switching hands because this camera is heavy and my arm's tired. Anyway, like I was saying, I usually don't shop at Barnes and Noble, but whenever I get a chance to actually go into the store, I try to go and see what they have, see if I want anything. And I'm probably gonna sign up for a membership because Barnes and Noble is expensive. You know, you gotta pay list price. Anyway, I'm rambling. I picked up a couple things that I figured I would just show off to you guys. You will probably see this in my haul video at the end of, or probably in November. I usually post my hauls after the month is over, but I think both of these will actually be in a TBR video, so and the one that I'm about to film, so you will see it before this video obviously. But anyway, like I said, I picked up 2 books. So the first book that I picked up, I was going to get this from Amazon, and it was actually the same price on Amazon, so I figured since I was there I would just pick it up and I could take it home with me. And it was actually out early because it doesn't release until tomorrow. So when I saw it, I was like, I need that. And I picked it up. Anyway, that is Food Wars Volume 26 by Yuto Sakuda. And then I also picked up a copy of Written in Red by Anne Bishop. This is the first book in the Others series, I believe. I decided to pick this up because this was one of the choices for the Wicked Spirits book club, and I checked before I bought it and it was in the lead, and I think the vote ends either later today or tomorrow, like at midnight, and this one was in the lead by 2 votes. So I picked it up because it's a book I've been wanting to read anyway, and even if it doesn't win, then now I have a copy and I can just read this later on. And I messed up my book. Great. Anyway, whatever. It's just a couple pages. But yeah, it was technically like $1 more on, you know, getting it in the store, but I figured I'm paying the convenience fee of being able to take it home with me today, because I think it was like $6.85 on Amazon. So I just picked it up because I wanted it and it was there and I was going to get it anyway. So yeah, I was able to get 2 new books out of having to take them to their dentist appointment. And yeah, I am, like I said, now about to go ahead and film an October TBR. Hopefully that doesn't take too long to actually get it filmed or set up and filmed. And yeah, I have to get ready to go to bed so I could go to work later today. So that's all I have for your update wise today. I will be back tomorrow morning. I will probably most likely have a way better update tomorrow because I will try my best to get some reading done. And if I feel like I wait too long, I did just also get the audiobook for Crown of Midnight, because for I think the Assassin's Blade and maybe even Throne of Glass, when I reread it, I was listening to the audiobook while following along. So if I feel like I don't have enough time to focus like I want to on the book, then I will do that and follow along and just go back and forth between the two on my mood, you know, depending on my mood. But I will let you guys know more about that tomorrow. I haven't read as much as I would like to at this point, but I figured I would come, like I said, do an update. And just in case you guys didn't know, this will contain spoilers because I'm going to talk about my thoughts as I'm reading it. I don't want anybody to watch it if you haven't already read the book and you don't want to be spoiled or anything. So yeah, just fair warning on that. Sorry if you can see my food. I am really hungry. I feel like my dinner that I had last night was not enough, so I'm eating right now. So this is pretty much picking up after the events of the end of Throne of Glass. So at the beginning of this, we know that Selena has won the competition that she was pretty much partaking in throughout the majority of Throne of Glass, and now she's the King's Champion. And at the very beginning, we're following her after she's coming back from one of her missions to kill someone that the king told her to kill. And you know, we're kind of getting these conflicting views because we got her and how she, she isn't really happy with the position that she's in, but she's doing it for her own survival because she didn't want to be sent back to the salt mines. So, she's doing what she needs to do. But then we also have Dorian, who is looking at her differently because he knew that she was an assassin, but in the first book you could tell that he never really thought about what she did, or he really didn't think too much into it because she was always in these pretty dresses, and she didn't seem, I guess, deadly to him in the first book just because of the way that she was portraying herself. And then we also have Kale, which, like, the audiobook pronounces it Kale, and that might be how you pronounce it, but I think that's kind of silly, so I'll call him Kale. Anyway, we get to see a glimpse of him as well, and how he differs between when he is in his captain's role as well as when he's alone with Selena, because he has really conflicting emotions because he is the captain of the guard, and he has this sense of like his duty, but then he also is realizing that he might have these feelings for Selena. And I know a bunch of spoilers, so I know that they aren't in game, even though when I first read Throne of Glass, I wanted, if anything, I would want Selena and Kel to get together or be together, but I know that doesn't end up happening. I'm sure it will be a wild journey to see where this goes from there. But we also learn, we get to see kind of a glimpse into a lot that's going on. So we have talks of the rebels, and the king is trying to shut everything down with the rebels. He knows that, he says that someone's working against him, and he basically, when Selena comes back from the last person that she was sent to kill, she's told that there are rebels in Rifthold, but he's saying that the king is telling her that he's gonna give her a name at a time, and she has to go out and kill these people. And of course, the first person name that she gets, she knows him from years ago when she was still working for the King of Assassins. So we get little glimpses into what's going on in kind of how she's handling things. And she also mentions that she's not actually killing these people that she has been sent off to kill. She is making arrangements with them for them to go into hiding, and she's getting body parts from people that have already been dead, which is gonna come back to bite her in the ass. This is the easiest way to say that, but that's definitely gonna come back. And I'm wondering, when it comes down to it, is she gonna end up having to kill this guy who she knows, who she is kind of investigating at the moment, or is she's gonna do the same thing with him? I think she's still trying to figure that out because he is so well known, and because he is a courtesan and he is really popular. So she's just like, am I gonna have to do this even though I know him? She's trying to figure out what he has gotten himself into, if he actually is into anything. It's just a lot that's going on that is still pretty much the beginning stages of it. And yeah, that's it. Not much has happened. I feel like a lot of it is just Selena, kind of going over what she's supposed to be doing, and her revealing what she's actually doing, and kind of going over, reestablishing what her relationship is with certain people. So we have Kel, we have Dorian, and we have Nehemia, who, I don't know why, I kind of forgot about her from the first book because she was there, but it's been a few months since I read the first book, so I kind of forgot how big of a role she was playing in the first book and things that were going on. So I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. I think I heard somewhere that she dies at some point, which is kind of sucky because she was one of my favorite characters in the first book. So I don't know for sure. I don't know exactly what happens because I have not read anything past this one. So far, I think it's decent. Like I said, there's not much that has happened. We were introduced to a couple new characters. Archer Finn. So I can't remember if he showed up in a previous book, but he's definitely going to probably be a major character, at least for a while in this book. We also was introduced to a guy named Roland, who is Dorian's cousin, and I think those are the major two new characters. There were mention of other characters, obviously, that were new that we had never heard of, which I'm sure they're gonna reappear at some point in the series, probably. So, like I said, at this point, not much has happened, but I am looking forward to continuing in this. As of right now, that's what's going on. I am on page 62, and my next stopping point is page 120, I believe. Let me double check that. Yeah, my next stopping point is 120, so right before the start of chapter 16. So I don't think I will get to that before going to sleep, but I will definitely update you guys tomorrow. Hopefully, I will have read to my day 3 mark by the time I'm ready to update again, but I will, do an update no matter what tomorrow when I get home from work. Hey everyone, so it is Wednesday, I think. Let me check my phone just to make sure, because I'm already all off with my days. And of course, it's not showing me. Yes, it is Wednesday. Hopefully my camera isn't too crooked. I think it's broken or something, my tripod. Anyway, I figured I would do a really quick update. Hopefully it's not too long today because I'm really sleepy. And once I'm done with this, I'm going to go get straight in the shower. And I might get some more reading done before going to bed. I'm not completely sure yet. So last night I did end up finishing my day 2 reading. I ended up listening to the audiobook while I was in the shower. So I got through most of it. I did actually go back once I got out because I kept getting distracted by a certain point, or I kept missing details. So I went back once I had got out the shower and lotioned up and got dressed for bed. I went back and listened to it while following along in my physical copy. So I haven't read any more since I stopped reading yesterday. So that kind of sucks. But from what I read yesterday that I didn't get to talk about in the little section, I feel like quite a bit has happened. I know at first I was saying not a lot was going on, but after like the 60 or so pages that I read, quite a bit happened. So I think the last section left off with Selena going to investigate Archer to, get some information from him before she decided whether or not she was going to kill him. I mentioned before that she hadn't actually been killing the people that she was sent off to kill. She gave them a choice to kind of disappear and never use their given name again so they wouldn't have to die based off of the king's whims. So she was going to see if she was going to do the same for Archer and, if he had actually got caught up in a rebel group and all of this stuff. So she goes to talk to him and she ends up getting an invitation to the ball to go investigate some things because she heard from Archer that when she went out to meet with him that there was a possible rebel group who thought that the lost princess of Terrasen was still alive and they were trying to get her. They thought that she was trying to establish her own forces to be able to come over, and kind of dethrone the current king of Arderland or wherever they are. So, yeah, she's pretty much getting information to that. She ends up going to this ball, and we get to experience the first death by Selena's hands. I think in between the first book and the novella, the set of novellas, the bind up of novellas, this is the first time that we actually get to see her kill anyone. And she pretty much did it in self-defense because she was trying to investigate this one dude and it didn't really turn out in her favor, and he stabbed her, or he sliced her with a poison knife. So she ends up killing him in order to escape so she isn't captured and tortured and questioned and all of those things. There are also some craziness going on at the Glass Castle, or whatever the palace is called. I always forget what it's called. But there have been several different instances where things have come up. So she was on her way to the library one night and she saw this figure who that she didn't know. I think this camera is like really, really crooked and it's bothering me. Okay, I think that's a little better, but now camera probably is not on me. Anyway, like I was saying, Selena was on her way to the library one night where she encountered this figure. She doesn't know if it was a person or not, but the thing was hissing at her, and I think at some point in the first book she ends up with the Eye of Elena, and she wears this everywhere. And when she encounters this thing or whatever it is, it kind of starts warming up. So I'm guessing it's some form of protection for her, and the thing ends up leaving. And something else, she goes to visit Caltaine, which I'm not sure if that was in the previous part, or I think that was in the part that I read yesterday after I did my update. And we know from the first book that Parrington, I think his name is, was using Caltaine for something. I think he was using her to kind of harness some type of dark magic or something like that. So we kind of get to see that she is still being used, so they're keeping her locked up in the dungeons after everything that happened in the first book. And Selena goes to visit her to see if she knows anything about the new guy who has come into the palace, the cousin of Dorian or something like that. So she is talking, but Selena thinks she's crazy, which I think she is on the verge of going crazy, but she also knows something. It's just like what she's saying doesn't necessarily make sense, and I'm sure it'll probably all come together at the end or later on when there's a big reveal going on. But she's saying some stuff that doesn't quite add up, and we don't know what it is. Selena thinks she's just losing her mind because she's been locked up for so long, and she's not used to being in those type of situations. What led me to this was saying that there are things going on. So, like I said, Selena encounters this thing, and I think after that, she goes to see Caltaine, and somewhere in the midst of that, and down underneath the castle, she tries to go visit Elena, I think, is the Fae princess or something, whose tomb is underneath the castle. And she doesn't actually see her, but we are encountered with this magical door knocker that talks to her. And it's a lot. I feel like there's a lot of little details that are important, but you won't know until you like get to that point where it's all revealed and all pulled together. But there was a point where I brought up the door knocker, was that the door knocker asked who she was or what her name was, because she asked him, and she said, "My name is Selena Sardothian." And the door knocker kind of laughed at her, kind of saying like, "Is that really your name?" And I think I picked up on that because I know, I guess, who Selena's secret identity is. I don't know if she knows. I think she might, because something else happened, and I'm picking up on these little details because I know spoilers for this series after hearing people talking about it so much. So I think I picked up on a little bit of that. But anyway, I am getting ahead of myself. So the reason I was saying something's weird going on at the castle, some weird magic is being harnessed. This was already brought up in the first book where I think his name was Kane, the main competitor she had for becoming a King's champion. We know that there was some type of dark magic going on with him, and I think Duke Parrington, and also possibly the king had something to do with it, and it is continuing and maybe even escalating in the second book. So like I said, we had this appearance of this person slash thing. We don't really know what it was yet. And then we have the way Caltaine is speaking. Like I said, I think she's still being used to harness or use to power this dark magic or whatever it is that's going on. But they're holding her we don't really have a reason why they're holding her and not letting her go anywhere. Really haven't sentenced her to anything. She's kind of just being kept locked up in the dungeons or something like that. So yeah. And then there was also a moment where we kind of go over to Dorian for a little bit. He was sleeping in his room and he woke up having a really bad nightmare, and there was like frost covered around him. Now, I'm not sure if he turns up to be some magical being or not. Later on in the series, I don't really know that yet because that's one of the things I didn't really hear anything on. But Selena's true identity, I know about that, so that's kind of taken away that big reveal because I think that's revealed at the end of this. But like I was saying, there was a lot really, there was things starting to happen, and there were like, I'm really enjoying what's going on so far. We kind of get more of a sense that Kel has feelings for Selena, even though he still isn't really acting on it. He's kind of letting, like, he's letting his feelings come out more because he's letting her know that he's worried about her, and he's questioning what she's doing and trying to say what she can and can't do as far as what she's wearing or where she's going, or who she's going to see, and all of these things. And Dorian is also, he still has feelings for her, but he has this moment where he's like, well, the way the two look at each other, that he wants to find something like that, so he decides that he's going to let Selena go. I'm sure that's not going to be the end of that, but I will see as I continue on. And I think one of my favorite parts that I've read in that last section was Dorian's younger brother ends up coming back home. I'm not sure. I think they said that the queen wanted him home because of everything that was going on with the king. So he's home, and in order to honor his reappearance at home, they have this big banquet for him, and they end up hiring the singer. Her name is Rena Goldsmith, to come and kind of give a performance for this big banquet that they're holding. And she kind of openly defies the king by singing a song that deals with magic that she specifically dedicated to the royal family. And at the end of that chapter, which was the last chapter before I stopped, he ends up executing her. And I think that's just kind of crazy because he's just like, that was an insult, and anybody who insults me or really kind of openly defies me deserves to die. And she doesn't really cower from it. She's like, everything I did in my career, I did to come and be able to remind you that no one's forgotten what you've done. There are people still out there that know exactly what you did, or still affected by the things you did, and all of these things. Oh, she goes out like she's killed, still being defiant to the king. And I just thought that was a really strong, powerful moment, and I'm sure that that is like a good indicator of some things, not things necessarily, nothing specific, but the way people are going to feel later on when it comes to the really big fight. I'm sure, I don't know if there's one or more, but once it comes down to it, I feel like there are going to be a lot of people that feel exactly like this woman did and her violinist, because they both came in to do exactly that. So I can't wait to see how, the people that were in this life like them, how those people that were affected by what the king did, how all of them come up to come against him or to go against him. And I'm really looking forward to continuing this. I am enjoying this a lot so far. I'm only 120 pages into it, and I'm probably going to read about, I think, another 60 or so pages. Or I should say, I'm going to try to read another 60 or so pages of this before going to sleep today. So I will see. I'm pretty much doing these. I'm not going to do another update today. Most of my updates will probably come towards the weekend. I'm thinking that I might try to finish this because I don't know. I want to read this physically because I'm listening to the audiobook, and the audiobooks are really good. It's good. It's a good audiobook, and it's helping me get through it. However, I feel like I'm not paying as much attention to the details. So I have not read this one yet because I have a book that I have to read for review. The review is going up later this weekend, or it's going up this weekend, and I need to finish that. And honestly, I could have probably finished it already, but I've been really sleepy. It's just been a really crappy week so far. I just had way too much to do. So I don't know. What I'm saying is I want to read this physically, so I haven't gotten started on my reading for today, but I'm hoping to at least get to my next sections. And I feel like I'm not really talking about much, but just know that so far I am enjoying it and I can't wait to see what happens from this point on. I have like maybe a little bit under 300 pages left to go, so I can't wait to see what happens in the rest of this so I can, move on with the rest of the series. Hey everyone, so it is now the end of the week. It's Sunday, and I have not actually done any updates since, like, I think halfway through the week I kind of just stopped doing them, or maybe a little bit more than halfway. Anyway, I have now finished Crown of Midnight, and I figured I would come on and give my final thoughts since I kind of just skipped out on my updates as I was reading each day. I'm not really going to get into why I stopped doing them. Honestly, I just wasn't feeling like it. But anyway, I don't exactly remember where I was in the last time I did an update, but I figured I would just talk about, I guess, the last half of the book or so. It might be a little bit more than that, but yeah. So like I said, I did finish Crown of Midnight. I actually finished it yesterday, which was Saturday. I got really into reading Friday when I got home from work, and then Saturday as well. I was just like, I really wanted to see what happens, and I was kind of just plowing through it, especially since I didn't have to be back at work either of those days. So a lot happened. It was a little weird reading this because this is my first time continuing on with the series past Throne of Glass, and obviously, as most people know, or if you don't know, which I'm sure you probably do because it's everywhere. Anyway, the last book in the series is coming out this year, so pretty much everyone who has read this series, or at least the people that I have followed, they have read all the books up until before, I think the last one that came out was Tower of Dawn, which ended up being a full-length novel. So most people that I have seen have read the entire series. So a lot of people have discussed what's going on in the series. So I know spoilers about certain things. So because of that, this didn't, the big reveals that happened in this book did not have as big of an impact because I knew they were coming, or I knew what they were before going into this. But this book was still really exciting. There was, like I said, I've been saying there was a lot going on. In this one, we find out that Selena is actually Fae, and she is the lost princess slash rightful queen to Terrasen, I believe. And like, she comes from one of the really big lines of Fae that I don't know how to explain it. You have to kind of read it to get the little nuances of the different royal families, but she comes from like two really big powerful Fae lines, and we get that first introduction into that, and we kind of piece together her background and where she came from to how she got to being under the identity Selena Sardothian, and how all of that played out. We kind of get a little bit of it in The Assassin's Blade when we learn more about her relationship with Arabin, who was the head of the Assassin's Guild, or however you talk about that. We get to learn more about her relationship with him and how all of that happened. But in this one, we get to learn more about how exactly that came to be and how she came to be underneath him, or at least we got more details about that. And we also, in this one, okay, I'm sure everyone has talked about this by now, but Nehemia is one of the major characters who appears, or one of the major side character who appears in Throne of Glass. In this one, she dies, or she sacrifices herself, gets killed, whatever, however you want to see it. And I have heard people talking about it, but reading it made me so mad because I was like, in this series we are following a bunch of like typically Caucasian white people, and we get this group of people with this one princess who would be considered a black woman, based off of her description, and her guards that have come to her to Ardalan with her to come, try to make peace with the current king. And like basically in this book she sacrifices herself to kind of push Selena in the movement that they want her to go in. So Selena is kind of fighting her background, and not she's not taking action to kind of help everyone the way she can. And Nehemia and Queen Elena, which is the Fade Queen that was buried in like tombs, or the forgotten passages underneath the castle, they kind of basically plan it out where Nehemia sacrifices herself for Selena to be able to take that next step in her journey. And I was just like, seriously? So the only black people that we have in the series currently, I don't know if there are any more that shows up later on, but the only ones, they are basically butchered in order for her to get angry and upset to be able to want to do something to work against the king. And I wasn't happy with that at all. And I was just like, as much as I enjoyed the story, that part of it really upset me. And I was just like, I know people have discussed this and I knew that it was coming up, but I guess I didn't realize how bad it was until I actually read it. And we're gonna move on from that. I have just now that I was just not happy about that. So after all of this, we have a bunch of different characters and factors all in play at the same time. So we have this guy from Selena's past named Archer, I think his name is Archer or something like that, who reappears, and he's saying that he's kind of making stuff up as he goes along, and he's saying that him and Nehemia are working together. That's basically why she was still in town and all of this stuff. And, in the end we find out that he actually betrayed her, or it was more to the story than that although Nehemia was working with him in the group he was working with, there were more things to it. And I didn't trust him from the beginning just because of his actions, and I'm sure that Sarah J. Maas wrote it that way so you could kind of get hints that he wasn't really the person who he was presenting himself to be. Because after the first time when she first approaches him and she gives him something to do, and he kind of goes behind her back and all of these people start disappearing or start leaving town, I was just like, yeah, he's up to something more. And every time he appeared, I didn't like him more and more. So when it came out that he was, that Nehemia wasn't really about what he was about, later on, and ended up leaving them, I wasn't really all that surprised. However, I was surprised that he was the one that set up, or he was actually the one that killed Nehemia and her guards. And somehow Nehemia knew that it was just crazy. Yeah. And I was happy about, I don't want to, I feel like that's weird to say I was happy that someone got killed, but I could just see him causing problems if he had stayed in the picture. So him leaving and dying wasn't really as big of an issue for me. However, I can already tell that Sarah Maas is setting up characters to be horrible. Now, I have already heard that a bunch of people did not like Kel, or Kale, however you say. I say Kel, but I already know that people just absolutely despise his character after a while. And I can already see that she's setting it up already for it to work out that way. And I kind of, it sucks to say that, because I really liked him. I feel like there's a lot going on with him. Not just him, but for him specifically, I feel like there's a lot going on with his character. And I hate to see him be brought down so much. And I guess the same thing happened in her other series with Tamlin. So I just have to wait and see, but I can already see the setup for her, for him just going downhill. And I'm sure he has to learn a lot, and I've heard people felt like he was redeemed, but I'm already not looking forward to his character and what happens with him in the future after everything that he has learned by the end of this book. And I just his blind loyalties to the king are just irking me, and I know by the end of this book he's starting to question those things, but I just know that because of his revelation of who Selena really is, it's just not gonna work out, it's gonna be a disaster. Anyway, Dorian, I am enjoying him. I'm still kind of on the fence about him. I like him, and I'm interested to see where his character goes, especially since he's found out that he has magic. He does not know yet that who Selena really is, and that she's Faye and the Lost Princess by the end of this storyline, or by the end of this book. So I'm interested to see how he will be affected once he learns about her lineage and all of those things in the next book. I'm interested to see what happens with his character and if he is actually going to go against the king in any way. And yeah, also I am interested in seeing how what happens with all the other side characters like Roland, Caltaine, Duke Parrington, and you know what's going on with them and how the king is kind of using each of them. I think Roland and Parrington are in on what's going on, but still curious as to how all of that is going to play out. Also, I felt really bad about Caltaine. Like, obviously in the first book I didn't like her because of the things that she was doing, but I also feel like she was being manipulated a lot in the first book despite her character. And like in this book we get to see obviously that they're still using her for something, and finding out that she's from also this powerful bloodline and she might possibly have some type of magical abilities, because I believe she also comes from Fae, or you know her ancestors were Fae or something like that. So I'm not sure if she's one of those characters that I didn't really hear anything about, so I don't know if she survives past the third book, because she was apparently still alive after this book. She just was gone with Parrington. So I'm curious as to what happens with her, and hopefully she can join the resistance, if that's what you want to call it, and hopefully she can grow and be a better character. But we will definitely see, or I will definitely see in the next book. As far as Selena / Aelin, whatever, I am looking forward to seeing how much she grows. I feel like from the books that I have read, she has definitely grown a lot. We get to see in the Assassin's Blade, got to see a lot of different perspectives of her character, and then Throne of Glass was really like a really specific kind of her trying to rebuild herself. And although she has all this confidence, she still has to come back from almost a breaking point that she was at. In this one we get to see she's still kind of recovering from everything that she has been through, but she's also kind of like there's a bunch of new stuff going on. So she has grown a lot. She still has a long way to go. So I'm looking forward to seeing the rest, you know, what happens in the next part of her journey. I will also be reading Air of Fire this month as well. I am planning on reading this the third week of October. We're on October. I plan on reading that in the third week of October, and I would also like to do a reading vlog for that one. So if you guys enjoyed this, definitely be looking out for that. Also, let me know of some things that you think I should talk about during these reading vlogs, for a book specifically that you think might improve the reading vlogs, because I feel like at the beginning I was kind of just saying the same things over and over and kind of just explaining different plot points. That is all I have, I guess, to say for now about Crown of Midnight. Definitely make sure to discuss with me down in the comments, because I feel like this is my first time reading, and there's probably a lot that I didn't really pick up on or just didn't talk about. So yeah, feel free to or please discuss with me down in the comments. I decided to give this one a 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, because I waited so late to continue on with the series, I knew a lot of the big reveals that happened in this book, so that took away a little bit of my enjoyment, even though I was still really excited when the things are happening. But also some of the characters or some of the things that happened I wasn't really happy with, like Nehemia sacrificing herself for Selena to take that next part of her journey, and some of the character setups for next books in the series. And yeah, but like I said, that's all I have for now. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys again in the next one.